Chapter 14. The sole silver lining in this mess is that Darius has the skewer of a caramel apple gripped in one white-knuckled fist. He sits at the table while Asher continues to prattle on, jumping from topic to topic, but always circling back to why exactly he could have cared enough to keep Darius alive. And the meat's kind of burned at the edges, but I think your panic lasted just long enough to give it a really good sear. That's really lucky. I could give you some apple compote to go with it. Ugh, I'm so sick of apple. Nothing against you, love. He pats the wall. But sheesh. Oh, it looks like you had vegetables in that bag too. Were you gonna cook those? Darius takes a bite of the caramel apple. He would have preferred the caramel off of the apple, but that's the last thing on his mind as the juices of the fresh fruit rush his mouth, compounded by the incomparable sweetness of the caramel. He hasn't had sugar for more than 400 years. If I knew you could rustle food up like this, maybe I should have left you alone in your house. That was a joke. I couldn't have. I would have lost you if I hadn't taken care of you, and that's as good a reason as any, right? Anyway. Oh, if you weren't going to cook those vegetables, I have some great dipping sauces for those. Did your time have peanut butter? Oh, heck, some caramel would work too, but, it's crystallized. Of course. Looks like both of us got distracted. Well, I better clean that up. Darius is barely listening. The sweetness just fills his mouth. More than his mouth. He can feel it in his throat, raw and decadent. When it hits his stomach, he swears he can feel the sugar in his blood. He's been alive, sure, but he hasn't felt this alive in a long time. He takes quicker and quicker bites, frantic to get more of it than what he's tasting. It's not like it would have mattered if you died. Asher's voice cracks. But, maybe I have a sort of, pride in the bodies living on my world. Flesh is my domain, you know? My element. My home. Yeah, I couldn't let you starve. Heck, no one deserves to starve. Many, and I mean many of those people deserve to be eaten, to be ripped apart. Everything I did to them, I don't regret it. But no one deserves to starve. And it's not like you gave me much of a choice, Darius. I couldn't even wake you up. Darius closes his eyes. His teeth cleave through the apple like a cut chisel through hot metal. Juice dribbles down his face. Not to mention I got a break from my eyes every time I saw you. And a break from everyone else. So it was only natural that, Darius? Darius. That's the stick. Darius, stop. Asher tries to wrench the apple out of Darius's hands. Jolted by the flesh-to-flesh contact, Darius's heart skips a beat. He's about to take a breath in to yell at Asher when he realizes that there's no apple left on the skewer. You didn't crunch down on any of the seeds, did you? Asher asks. I mean, not that it would have much of an effect on you, but it's still not good for humans. Do you want another one? Of course I do. Darius speaks without breath, slamming his hands down on the table and causing a few apples to go tumbling to the floor. Asher huffs. I wasn't finished. Do you want an apple turnover or some apple strudels? Darius bites his tongue. All of it. Hungry, aren't we? Asher chuckles. It's like we switched. I'll just get you some various apple goodies, and I'll enjoy that meat you brought me. Soon, Darius has an array of apple pastries and treats in front of him. He can't help but let a few tears roll down his face at the sight of the turnover, the crystallized sugar gleaming as it coats the flaky copper-brown bread. He picks it up and bites into it to find his mouth and throat coated in sticky warmth, the sugar overpowering even the taste of the apple. It's been so long since I've had sugar, he explains as Asher clears a small spot on the table and sits down next to him. I've been foraging and catching little scraps of meat for so long. I never thought I'd eat sugar again, much less bread. Maybe, he thinks, he shouldn't be telling this to Asher. After all, looking up to meet the deity's gaze, he can't get any read on how Asher's feeling. Asher just picks up one of the cuts and starts tearing it, teeth in hands. He eats as an animal does, not ferociously, not politely, but a tempered, functional middle. After Asher swallows, he responds, Well, enjoy it while you can, I guess. Darius takes another bite. As he eats, he can't help but let his mind wander. He was really here for 400 years, so that means he's about 425 years old. He spent more of his life in his box than out, spent more of his life on Ana than Earth, and for most of his life, Asher took care of him. Took care of is an odd choice of words, but Darius can't think of it any differently. His gut turns at the thought of it, though. For some reason, though he has no inclination to think it anything but kind, Asher's actions still feel rotten. Darius feels like Asher crossed some sort of unwritten rule about life and death. Asher? He whispers. When Asher looks up, he takes a deep breath to continue. When you were looking after me when I was in my house, what exactly were you doing? Asher sets the meat down on his plate. I fed you, he begins. Not anything weird or gross. Actually, it was just easier to make a nutrient smoothie for you to drink. That and water. He sets his elbows on the table, then props up his face in one hand. I cleaned occasionally, mostly dusting, any messes you made, and sometimes I had to heal you. You'd atrophy, or you'd fall down, or any number of things, really. Darius feels his throat grow tight. A part of him feels sick to his stomach, but strangely, there's also a sort of calmness that keeps him from speaking or moving. His chest aches with the want to start trusting Asher again, but he can't forget who drove him into his box in the first place. And he can't forget that as soon as their last interaction before this, Asher was threatening and mutilating Darius. You're so... Darius lets himself trail off. He shakes his head and lets his eyes drift closed, feeling the dull thudding of his heart beat through his temples. All this confusion wells within him. The same guy who saved him from dying in his own world tortured him and everyone else he knew, but took care of him when he couldn't take care of himself, but never asked permission, but made sure he wasn't left behind, but sent him back to face his doom, but welcomed him back even though he clearly didn't want him back, but threatened not to help him, but helped him anyway, but withheld that he was a god, but had a nice dinner with him, but threatened him and hurt him for trying to pray, but now they're sharing food and... What the hell is wrong with you? Asher jumps. He fixes Darius with an intense gaze and a furrowed brow. I can never tell what you're going to do next, Darius continues. Why are you being nice to me now? What did I do? When are you going to start hurting me again? Asher's eyes narrow. At the sight of it, Darius's breath catches in his throat. But Asher doesn't do anything. The two just stare at each other, the seconds passing by painfully. Finally, Asher lifts up the last hunk of meat he was eating and drops it in his mouth. His mouth distorts to fit the whole thing in, and when he swallows, Darius can see a clear outline in his throat. Darius closes his eyes and shudders. Ugh, Asher says, fixing his face and neck. May I remind you that you're free to leave at any moment? He spreads his lips wide in a grin that doesn't reach his eyes. I don't want to leave, Darius sighs. I just want to understand. Asher slouches. I mean, Darius says, fumbling for his words. People usually lash out and hurt other people because they're unhappy. Is that the case with you? Or do you enjoy other people's pain? Asher glances down at the table. He folds his hands over the edge of it. Both. All right, Darius sighs. If you enjoy people's pain, why do you help me specifically? Well, you're the only one here, Asher stammers. I mean, before, too. I was helping other people back then, Asher says. You just didn't see it. Darius raises an eyebrow. Well, you are also torturing them? Asher stays silent. Darius presses a hand to his forehead, relishing how cold his hand feels. Are you trying not to be understood? He asks slowly. Asher bites his lip. He seems to think for a long time, knitting his brow, drumming his fingers on the edge of the table. You could say that, he says softly. It's not as if I don't want to be understood, but no one's ever come close. He picks up a hand and lets his fingers elongate, weaving them together in a braided pattern. It's more fun to try to not be understood than to always chase after people's understanding, knowing that you're never going to get it. For the first time today, Darius feels a sense of calm settling over him, as pure and tangible as a cool breeze in the southern heat. Can I try to understand you? He asks Asher. You can always try, Asher says flatly. Will you play along? Darius asks. He tries to look at it from Asher's point of view. I could make it fun for you. We could make a game out of it. Just don't get frustrated when you lose, Asher says with a light-hearted chuckle. I won't. But thinking on this monumental task some more, Darius knows he won't ever have the hope of understanding Asher if they keep up like this. Sporadic little visits, always strained with Darius's past experiences, or whatever happens to be irritating Asher that day. The only thing he can think of to remedy this would be a regular schedule. It would take a lot of effort, but he'd do anything to get out of this cycle. All right, Darius says. I want to see you every day. Asher pauses, looking at Darius with widened eyes. Every day? Yes, Darius says. Either you come visit me, or I'll visit you. Asher's expression seems almost suspicious. Okay, he says. Can't promise you won't get tired of it soon. You don't need to promise anything. Darius smiles. Besides, it'll help me keep an eye on you. Make sure you don't get in the mood to torture somebody, and if you do, I'll be prepared to make sure it's not going to be me. Asher watches Darius for a moment more. Then he lowers his gaze to the floor. You'll have to come visit me until I get done with this apple harvest, he says. I'm not stopping until it's done. I'll do that, Darius says. Dinner tomorrow night? Sure. End of chapter 14.